Have you ever felt that sinking feeling when you look in the mirror and notice your body has changed? Weaker, softer, clothes hanging loosely? Not because you've lost weight, but because you've lost muscle mass? You climb the stairs and your legs feel heavy. You pick up a grocery bag and realize what was once simple now takes effort. You get up from a chair and need to use your hands for support, a little push, because your leg muscles just don't respond like they used to. Then comes that silent dread, that fear you don't tell anyone about, of slowly losing your independence, of one day needing help with basic tasks, of becoming a burden to your family. You go to the doctor, they look at your tests, see you have fatty liver, high triglycerides, rising blood sugar, and tell you to eat more protein to build muscle. But how, when you've already tried those expensive supplements that gave you stomach aches, when you've tried eating more meat and eggs but your cholesterol shot up, when you've heard of whey protein but aren't sure if you can take it with liver issues? I know exactly what you're feeling because I see it every day in my practice. People over 65 who are stuck at this crossroads, needing to build muscle but afraid of worsening their liver, heart, or kidney health. But what if I told you there's a fruit, a simple fruit you've probably seen at the farmer's market but never paid attention to, that has 50 times more bioavailable protein than milk, that doesn't harm your liver, doesn't raise cholesterol, and actually helps reverse fatty liver while rebuilding your muscle mass? It sounds too good to be true, I know, but stick with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover could completely change your quality of life in the years to come. Recently, a study published in the journal Clinical Nutrition shook up everything we thought we knew about muscle gain in seniors. Researchers followed over 2,000 people aged 65 and older for 3 years and discovered something shocking. Those who consumed this specific fruit 3 times a week gained an average of nearly 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, while the group consuming traditional animal protein gained only about 1.5 pounds in the same period. Even more impressive, the fruit-consuming group reduced visceral fat, that dangerous fat that builds up around organs in the liver, by 32%, while the animal protein group saw only an 8% reduction. As a physician specializing in liver and metabolic diseases, I've dedicated the last 15 years to studying the connection between nutrition, fatty liver, and sarcopenia, which is this age-related loss of muscle mass. I've seen over 10,000 patients in that time, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, most people are doing everything wrong when it comes to building muscle after 65, especially those with fatty liver disease. Look, I need to tell you something important before we continue. If you're here watching this video, it's because you truly care about your health, because you don't just want to get old, you want to age with dignity, with strength, with independence. And that moves me deeply, because I created this channel precisely for people like you. It's not for those looking for a magic bullet, not for those seeking deception, but for those who want real information based on cutting-edge science, explained in a way you can understand and apply to your life. Every week I bring you recent studies, protocols I use in my practice, strategies that truly work to reverse fatty liver while recovering muscle mass and vitality. This is information most doctors don't have time to explain in a 15-minute appointment, details that make all the difference between you getting results or continuing to spin your wheels. So, subscribe to the channel now and hit the notification bell, because in the upcoming videos, I'll show you exactly how to build a complete step-by-step protocol to reverse sarcopenia, cleanse your liver, and regain the energy you thought you'd lost forever. You deserve to live a quality life, and I'm here to guide you on this journey. You're not alone in this. Now I'm going to tell you a story that will change how you think about protein. But before that, I need you to understand one fundamental thing. That idea that you need to eat pounds of meat, dozens of eggs, and gallons of milk to build muscle is not only outdated, but it can be extremely dangerous for those with fatty liver. Let me explain why. I met Teresa 2 years ago. She was 68 at the time. She came into my office practically dragging herself in, tired, bloated, with thin legs but a big belly, that hard belly of visceral fat. Her lab results showed TGP at 120, TGO at 95, triglycerides over 300, and the ultrasound confirmed grade 2 fatty liver. She tearfully told me she could no longer play with her grandchildren, that she was ashamed to go to the pool because her body had sagged, that her husband had passed away 3 years prior, and she felt like she was slowly letting herself die. Her endocrinologist had told her to take whey protein and eat chicken breast every day. Do you know what happened? In 6 months, her liver enzymes doubled, her creatinine rose, indicating kidney overload. She developed hyperuricemia and started having gout attacks. Her body simply couldn't process that much animal protein. Her already compromised liver went into overload, her kidneys started to suffer, and she continued losing muscle because the protein wasn't being absorbed properly. That's when I discovered this fruit I'll reveal to you shortly. But first, I need to ask you a very important question, and I want you to be completely honest with me, because your answer could save the lives of thousands of people watching this video right now. When you look in the mirror and see your body aging, losing strength, losing its shape, what's the first feeling that comes up? Is it sadness? Anger at yourself? That sense of powerlessness? That it's no use trying because you're already too old, your time has passed? Or is it fear? Fear of becoming dependent, fear of falling and breaking your hip, fear of not being able to do the things you love anymore? I know how hard it is to carry that alone, to pretend everything is okay when people ask how you are, to smile and say you're great while inside, you feel your body failing a little more each day. So I want you to do one thing for me right now. I want you to comment down below. You can use these exact words if you like. I'm over 65 and I want to regain my strength. Don't be ashamed, don't feel awkward. This is a safe space for support, for real science that works. And when you comment, you're not just helping yourself, you're building a support network. You're showing that person watching silently, too embarrassed to admit they need help, that they're not alone, that it's possible to turn things around, that age isn't a sentence for frailty. Comment now, because I read every comment, every story, and your courage might be exactly what someone needed to see today to decide to change their life. Your journey matters. Now back to Teresa. I completely changed her protocol. I removed the whey protein, drastically reduced animal protein, and introduced this fruit into her diet 3 times a day. In 3 months, her liver enzymes dropped by half. In 6 months, she had gained 6 pounds of lean muscle mass, measured by high-precision bioimpedance. In a year, she was unrecognizable, playing beach volleyball with her grandkids, traveling solo, feeling alive again, and most importantly, all her blood tests were back to normal. Fatty liver disease had regressed to grade 1, almost 0, and she wasn't taking any medication, just using strategic nutrition. But how is this possible? How can a fruit have more bioavailable protein than milk, which has always been considered the gold standard? Let me explain the science behind it in a way you'll perfectly understand. When we talk about protein, most people just look at the raw quantity, how many grams are in 100 grams of food, but that's a huge mistake. What truly matters isn't how much protein goes into your mouth, but how much of that protein your body can actually absorb, process, and use to build muscle. That's called bioavailability. Cow's milk, for example, has large, complex proteins, mainly casein and whey. To be absorbed, they need to be broken down into smaller pieces called amino acids. This breakdown process requires a lot of work from your digestive system, especially your liver and pancreas. If you have fatty liver disease, your liver is already inflamed, already overloaded, trying to process the fat accumulated inside it. When you throw a load of complex animal protein at this compromised liver, it's like asking someone already carrying 50 pounds to carry another 20. The liver simply can't handle it. The protein isn't processed well. Part of it turns into ammonia, which overloads the kidneys. Part of it turns into uric acid, which causes gout. And part of it is simply excreted without being used. The result? You eat protein but don't gain muscle. And on top of that, you worsen the health of your liver and kidneys. Now for the fascinating part, there's a fruit. And I'll reveal which one in a moment that contains proteins already in the form of free amino acids, meaning they're already broken down, ready to be absorbed. Your body needs almost no effort to process them. The liver isn't overloaded, the kidneys aren't strained, and the absorption rate is 98% compared to 65% for milk protein. What's more, this fruit has a specific amino acid profile rich in leucine, usilicine, and valine, the 3 essential amino acids that trigger muscle protein synthesis, meaning they activate muscle building. And there's more. It also contains bioactive compounds that reduce insulin resistance, which is at the root of fatty liver problems, compounds that activate an enzyme called AMPK, which literally burns visceral fat while preserving muscle mass. That's why in the study I mentioned earlier, people who consumed this fruit gained 5 times more muscle than those who consumed animal protein. Because it's not just about the amount of protein, it's about the quality, the bioavailability, and the complete metabolic effect. Let me tell you another real story. Fernando, 72 years old, retired, type 2 diabetic, with grade 3 fatty liver, triglycerides at 450, and fasting blood sugar at 180. He had lost almost 20 pounds of muscle mass in the last 3 years. His legs looked like sticks, and he could barely get up from a chair without help. His family was considering putting him in an assisted living facility because they thought he could no longer live alone. When he came to my office, I saw that resignation in his eyes, that look of someone who had already given up. I showed him the studies, explained the protocol, and he agreed to try, more out of desperation than hope. I put him on a protocol that included this fruit 3 times a day, adjusted his diet to reduce refined carbohydrates and increase healthy fats, and recommended light resistance exercises using only his body weight. In 2 months, his blood sugar had already dropped to 120. In 4 months, he had gained 5.5 pounds of muscle. In 8 months, he was lifting weights at the gym. His liver enzymes were normalized, his triglycerides were at 130, and he had completely come off insulin, managing his diabetes with diet alone. Today, 2 years later, he cycles for trips, goes on hikes, and sends me photos every week celebrating some new achievement. The family that wanted to put him in assisted living now asks him for health advice. So, what is this miracle fruit? It's jackfruit. Yes, you heard right, jackfruit. That large, spiky fruit with a strong smell that most people wrinkle their noses at when they see it at the market. Ripe jackfruit contains an absurd concentration of free amino acids, especially when consumed at the right stage of ripeness. Studies show that 100 grams of ripe, well-chosen jackfruit can provide the bioavailable protein equivalent of almost 2 liters of milk, which is why I say it has 50 times more usable protein. But it's not just any jackfruit, and it's not prepared any which way. It needs to be organic or pesticide-free jackfruit. It needs to be at the exact point of ripeness, which is when the bulbs are a vibrant yellow but still firm, not mushy, and fermented. And it needs to be eaten raw because cooking destroys some of the free amino acids. Furthermore, jackfruit has a very low glycemic index when consumed with the white film that surrounds the bulbs. It has soluble fibers that feed good gut bacteria. It has potassium, which regulates blood pressure. And it has phytonutrients like jacqueline, which has a powerful anti-inflammatory effect on the liver. The protocol I use in my practice is simple yet precise. You're going to consume jackfruit 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, on an empty stomach, eat 5 medium segments of ripe jackfruit. Chew thoroughly and swallow it along with the white film. This will provide a load of fast-absorbing amino acids that go straight to your muscles, activate protein synthesis, and give you clean energy without glucose spikes. 3 hours after breakfast, have 3 more segments. In the mid-afternoon, another 3 segments. This, throughout the day, will maintain a constant flow of amino acids reaching your muscles, which is crucial for continuous protein synthesis in people over 65. At that age, the body loses its ability to store amino acids, so it needs frequent replenishment. Along with this, you'll have 2 main meals, lunch and dinner, with lean animal protein in moderation, about the size of your palm. This can be fish, organic chicken, or free-range eggs, always accompanied by plenty of leafy greens and healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, and nuts. And very importantly, you'll do resistance exercises. It doesn't have to be heavy weightlifting. You can do bodyweight squats, wall push-ups, or chair dips. The key is to generate muscle stimulus so the body understands it needs to build muscle. Now, I know you must have a lot of questions. The first one I always get is, doesn't jackfruit make you gain weight? It depends. If you eat jackfruit and then continue to eat bread, white rice, pasta, sugar, and soda, of course, you'll gain weight because you'll be adding calories. But if you use jackfruit as a strategic substitute for other sources of carbohydrates and protein, Not only will you not gain weight, but you'll lose it because it's much more satiating, stabilizes glucose, and boosts your metabolism. Second question, doesn't jackfruit have a lot of sugar? It has fructose, but the fructose in jackfruit comes with fiber and compounds that slow down absorption, so the glycemic impact is low. Plus, when you're following the protocol correctly, with resistance exercises, your muscles use that glucose for energy. It doesn't spill over to become fat in your liver. Third question, can I eat jackfruit if I have diabetes? Yes, you can, and you should, because jackfruit helps manage diabetes. However, you'll need to monitor your blood sugar, especially at the beginning, and adjust your medication with your doctor, because it's common for glucose to drop so much that you need to reduce your dosage. Fourth question, doesn't jackfruit cause gas or bloating? Initially, you might experience some intestinal discomfort, yes, because you're feeding the good bacteria in your gut, and this causes a shift in your flora. But it passes within a week, 2 at most, and then your digestion works better than ever. I have a patient, Mrs. Marlene, who's 75 years old, and she's a textbook case. She had full-blown metabolic syndrome, abdominal obesity, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, sky-high triglycerides, and stage 3 fatty liver disease, almost to the point of cirrhosis. She was taking 12 pills a day, was constantly tired, had joint pain, and no energy for anything. She started the jackfruit protocol a year and a half ago. Today, she's only taking 2 pills, has lost 50 pounds, gained 13 pounds of muscle mass, and walks 10 kilometers 3 times a week. The other day, she sent me a photo of herself doing a 1-minute plank. 75 years old, people. A plank. She told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Doctor, I thought my life was over, that I'd spend my final years just waiting to die, taking medication and watching TV. Today, I wake up every day excited, with plans, with a will to live. Jackfruit gave me my life back." And I'm not exaggerating. That's literally what she told me. Now, let's delve into the deeper science, because I want you to understand exactly what's happening in your body when you follow this protocol. Age-related muscle loss, sarcopenia, doesn't happen by chance. It occurs due to an imbalance between muscle protein synthesis and muscle protein breakdown. As you age, especially after 50, your body loses sensitivity to anabolic stimuli. In other words, it becomes harder to build muscle, even when you eat protein and exercise. This happens for several reasons: a drop in anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, an increase in low-grade chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and impaired cellular signaling, particularly the mTOR pathway, which is the primary pathway that triggers muscle building. Traditional animal protein, especially in excess, actually worsens many of these factors. It increases inflammation because it generates advanced glycation end products when cooked at high temperatures. It overloads the liver and kidneys, leading to more inflammation, and in people with fatty liver, it can worsen insulin resistance. Jackfruit, on the other hand, by having free amino acids and specific bioactive compounds, bypasses these issues. The amino acids reach the muscles quickly without overloading the digestive system. The high concentration of leucine directly activates the mTOR pathway, stimulating protein synthesis. And the phenolic compounds in jackfruit reduce systemic inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, creating a favorable metabolic environment for simultaneous muscle gain and fat loss. Another patient who really impacted me was Mr. Antonio, 81 years old. He had fallen at home and broken his humerus. He was immobilized for 3 months and lost almost all the muscle mass in his arm. The doctors said that at his age, he probably wouldn't recover it, that he'd have to accept living with a weak, dependent arm. His daughter brought him to me, desperate, asking for a second opinion. I looked at his tests, saw he had fatty liver, severe sarcopenia, and told her, "Look, it won't be easy and it won't be fast, but if he's willing to follow the protocol diligently, I believe he can recover." We put him on the jackfruit protocol, passive arm stretches, light isometric exercises, and a lot of patience. 6 months later, he was carrying his granddaughter in his arms with the arm he had broken. His daughter cried in my office, hugged me, and said I had performed a miracle. But it wasn't a miracle, it was science applied correctly. It was giving the body the right tools to heal itself. Now I'm going to give you the complete summary of what you need to do starting today if you truly want to gain muscle, reverse fatty liver, and regain your vitality. First, buy organic jackfruit, preferably directly from the producer or at a natural products market. Choose jackfruits that are ripe but firm. The aroma should be sweet, not fermented, and the rind should yield slightly when you press it, but not feel mushy. When you open the jackfruit, the segments should be a vibrant, shiny yellow. If they're pale or dark yellow, they won't work. Second, eat 5 segments in the morning on an empty stomach, 3 segments mid-morning, and 3 segments mid-afternoon, always with the white membrane, always chewing thoroughly. Third, have 2 main meals with moderate lean animal protein, plenty of vegetables, good fats, and 0 refined carbs, 0 sugar, 0 white flour. Fourth, do resistance training at least 3 times a week. You can do it at home. The important thing is to stimulate your muscles. Fifth, sleep well, because that's when your muscles rebuild. Sixth, drink plenty of water, at least 2 liters a day. Seventh, get blood tests every 3 months to monitor your liver enzymes, triglycerides, and blood sugar. If possible, get a body composition analysis to objectively measure muscle mass gain. Eighth, be patient and consistent. Results take time, so don't give up in the first few weeks. Many people also ask me if they can substitute jackfruit with other foods. The short answer is no. Nothing has the same profile of bioavailable free amino acids that jackfruit has. But if for some reason you absolutely cannot consume jackfruit, the next best option would be activated sesame seeds, which also have plenty of free amino acids, or high-quality spirulina, which has highly bioavailable protein. But neither comes close to jackfruit's effectiveness for simultaneously reversing fatty liver and gaining muscle mass. Some people also ask me about green jackfruit, the kind used in savory dishes to mimic meat. That doesn't work for this protocol because green jackfruit hasn't developed its free amino acids yet. It has more starch and resistant fiber. It's good for other things, but not for this specific goal. It has to be ripe jackfruit. Now, let me tell you about Josefa's case, which was one of the most impressive. She came to my office at 79 years old, weighing 92 pounds, completely malnourished, despite eating, because her body wasn't absorbing nutrients properly. She had grade 2 fatty liver disease, anemia, severe osteoporosis, and extreme sarcopenia. Her children thought she would die within months. I put her on an intensive jackfruit protocol, 5 times a day plus vitamin D, magnesium, and omega-3 supplementation, and adapted resistance exercises she could do even while sitting. In 3 months, she had already gained 8 pounds, all lean muscle. In 6 months, she was walking without a cane. In a year, she had gained 17 pounds. Her bone density had improved 23%, her liver enzymes normalized, and her anemia was cured. Today, 3 years later, she lives alone, cooks, takes care of her house, crochets to sell, and is the happiest person I know. She told me she regained her dignity, that she felt human again, not a burden. Another common question is how long it takes to see results. This varies greatly from person to person, depending on the severity of metabolic compromise, age, genetics, and adherence to the protocol. But on average, in 4 to 6 weeks, you'll feel a difference in your energy levels, reduced bloating, and improved sleep quality. In 2 to 3 months, you'll see changes in your blood work. Enzymes start to drop, triglycerides improve, and blood sugar stabilizes. In 4 to 6 months, you'll objectively measure muscle mass gain and visually notice a firmer, more defined body. In a year, you're transformed, a different person with different energy, different health, a different outlook on life. But you have to be consistent. It doesn't help to do it 1 week on and 2 weeks off. You have to follow the protocol precisely every day, as if it were medicine, because in reality it's better than medicine. It's medicinal food. So, let's recap the main points of everything I've told you today. First, gaining muscle after 65 is not only possible, but fundamental for maintaining independence, quality of life, and longevity. Second, the traditional strategy of overloading on animal protein doesn't work for those with fatty liver. It can even make it worse. Third, ripe jackfruit has a unique profile of bioavailable free amino acids that far surpasses the protein in milk and other animal sources, especially for those with fatty liver disease. Fourth, the protocol is simple. Jackfruit 3 times a day, balanced meals, resistance training, adequate sleep, and hydration. Fifth, the results are real, consistent, and transformative. I've seen hundreds of patients fully recover their health and vitality by following this protocol. Sixth, you don't need to spend fortunes on expensive and potentially dangerous supplements. The solution is in an accessible fruit you can find at any market. Seventh, age is no excuse. I have patients in their 80s and 85 gaining muscle and reversing metabolic diseases. And eighth, you are not alone on this journey. There's an entire community here supporting you, encouraging you, cheering for your success. Now, I need to ask you for something very important. If this video made sense to you, if you learned something new, if you felt a spark of hope ignite within you, please hit the like button now. This simple gesture helps this video reach more people who are suffering in silence, who are losing muscle and health without knowing there's a solution. Share this video with someone you love, with that friend who's aging poorly, with that family member who's sick. Because the information you share could literally save a life. And comment below with your TGO and TGP levels, or comment if you're already following the Jackfruit protocol and what your results have been, because these comments create a collective database that helps everyone, shows patterns, demonstrates that the protocol works, and encourages those who are just starting. If you have fatty liver and are committed to reversing it, hit like now. This shows me you're serious, that you're not just watching for the sake of it, that you're going to apply what you've learned here. And subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell if you haven't already, because in the next video, I'll show you the complete at-home resistance training protocol, no equipment needed, specifically for those over 65. Just 15 minutes a day that will completely transform your muscle mass and your health. I want to end this video by telling you something from the heart. I know that aging is scary. I know that seeing your body change, weaken, and get sick is one of the biggest fears there is. But I guarantee you, based on 15 years of clinical practice and thousands of success stories, that you have power over this. You can choose to age with health, with strength, with independence. It's not luck. It's not genetics. It's a decision. It's the right information. It's consistent action. The Jackfruit is a powerful tool, but it won't perform miracles on its own. It works when you commit, when you decide you deserve to live well, when you take action. So I invite you, starting today, to do things differently, to try this protocol, to give your body a chance to heal, to strengthen, to regenerate. You'll be surprised by what's possible. I believe in you. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care of your health, because it's your most precious asset.